Pat Morita is forever known as the beloved Mr. Miyagi from The Karate Kid, but did you know he almost didn't get the role? A shocking new revelation has surfaced, shedding light on the hurdles Morita faced, both personally and professionally, to land this iconic part. From skepticism in Hollywood to battles from his childhood, Morita's journey to becoming Mr. Miyagi was anything but smooth. Join us as we take a closer look into the untold story of how Pat Morita defied the odds and made history in The Karate Kid. The iconic role of Mr. Miyagi. In 1984, Pat Morita was cast as Mr. Miyagi in The Karate Kid, a role that would go on to define his career. Interestingly, Morita wasn't the first choice for the role. Many producers doubted that a comedian could convincingly play the wise, serious martial arts mentor. Morita, however, was determined to prove them wrong. He put his heart and soul into the audition, drawing from his own hardships to infuse Mr. Miyagi with depth, wisdom, and sincerity. His portrayal resonated deeply with audiences because it was genuine. It was informed by his own life experiences, from the pain of illness and isolation to the resilience he had built in the face of adversity. Landing the role of Mr. Miyagi in The Karate Kid was anything but straightforward for Pat Morita. His journey to this iconic role was filled with countless obstacles, testing his determination and ability to prove himself at every step. Morita was known for his comedic roles and stand-up routines, a background that made many in Hollywood doubt his ability to take on such a serious part. The film's producers were searching for someone who could effortlessly embody a combination of stern authority and gentle mentorship, a balance that would be difficult for anyone, let alone someone primarily known for making people laugh. Morita's comedic background led to skepticism among Hollywood decision-makers who couldn't envision him bringing the necessary gravitas to a role like Mr. Miyagi. When Morita's agent pitched him for the part, the response was lukewarm. Those in charge of casting were familiar with his work, but they doubted that he had the range to carry the emotional depth and quiet strength the role demanded. Initial auditions and industry skepticism. Despite the industry's skepticism, Morita decided to audition, seeing it as an opportunity to break away from the typecasting that had restricted his career thus far. However, his initial auditions failed to sway the producers. They recognized his acting skills but remained unconvinced that he was the right fit for Mr. Miyagi. The role called for someone with a quiet yet commanding presence, traits they hadn't yet seen from Morita in any of his comedic performances. As the casting process continued, the producers auditioned hundreds of actors, searching tirelessly for the ideal Mr. Miyagi, someone who could bring a sense of authenticity and dignity to the character. Despite the effort, they couldn't find anyone who fit the mold they envisioned, and time was running out. Mr. Miyagi wasn't just a mentor to the character Daniel LaRusso, he was also a symbol of patience, wisdom, and resilience. Morita's performance earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, a rare achievement for an Asian American actor at the time. Through this role, he not only broke stereotypes, but also showed the world the depth and versatility of his talent. The wisdom of Mr. Miyagi, laced with humor and heartfelt lessons, made him an enduring figure in pop culture and transformed Morita into an icon. While others might have given up in the face of rejection, Morita's perseverance remained unwavering. Determined to prove he could bring Mr. Miyagi to life, he requested another chance to audition. It was during this second round that something remarkable happened, a stroke of luck that would ultimately change the trajectory of Morita's career. At the time, the casting of Mr. Miyagi seemed to be at a standstill. Even after multiple auditions, no one had truly captured the essence of the character. It was during this ongoing search that a turning point arrived, thanks to the film's director, John Avildsen. Known for his work on underdog stories like Rocky, Avildsen had an eye for talent that often went unnoticed. He was intrigued by the idea of casting someone against type and decided to give Morita another chance, despite the reservations of others involved in the project. Pat Morita, known widely for his comedy, was far from the obvious choice for a role demanding a mix of emotional vulnerability and strength. However, Avildsen saw potential in Morita that others had missed and invited him to a private audition, away from the skeptical eyes of the producers. On the day of this crucial audition, Morita transformed himself entirely. He arrived with his hair combed back and his beard neatly trimmed. He carried himself with the quiet dignity and depth that Mr. Miyagi needed, embodying the character's wisdom and serene demeanor. Morita understood this was his last chance to show he was capable of taking on a role that would stretch his abilities. As the camera rolled, he delivered his lines with subtle strength and emotional nuance. Gone was the cheerful comedian that America had come to love on television. In his place stood Mr. Miyagi, a profound, compelling figure whose every word and gesture brought the character to life. Morita's performance captured the essence of Miyagi's spirit with a gentle yet resilient demeanor, resonating deeply with Avildsen. The room was silent when Morita finished his audition, a silence that spoke volumes. Avildsen was moved by the performance and was convinced that they had found the right person to play Mr. Miyagi. This was a moment of validation for Morita, whose diverse talents had often been overlooked simply because he was seen as a comedian. But while Avildsen was sold on Morita's potential, there was still one major hurdle: convincing the film's producer, Jerry Weintraub. Weintraub was known for his clear vision and strong-willed nature, and up until that point, he did not see Pat Morita as the right choice for Mr. Miyagi. Weintraub had his reservations. Casting a comedian for such an emotionally heavy role seemed risky. He doubted whether Morita could convey the depth and cultural significance required for the character, especially considering Morita's history of comedic roles. However, Avildsen was determined to have Morita on board. He planned a special screening to win Weintraub over. The director invited Weintraub to watch the audition tapes, without initially revealing who he would be watching. As footage of Morita's performance played, Weintraub found himself captivated by the authenticity and depth that Morita brought to the character. He saw the wisdom, the subtle humor, and the underlying strength that Mr. Miyagi embodied. Halfway through the tape, Weintraub turned to Avildsen and asked about the actor who had so perfectly captured the essence of Miyagi, still unaware that it was Pat Morita. When Avildsen revealed that it was indeed Morita, Weintraub was shocked. The man he saw on the screen was completely different from the comedian he thought he knew. This revelation marked a pivotal moment for Weintraub. He began to see Morita not just as a comedian, but as an actor capable of bringing genuine emotion, sincerity, and depth to the role. Convinced by what he had seen, Weintraub agreed to move forward with casting Morita as Mr. Miyagi. Even after winning over the producer, the journey to becoming Mr. Miyagi wasn't over for Morita. The studio still had concerns about whether audiences would accept Morita in a serious role. The stakes were high, and a lot depended on the character of Mr. Miyagi being both credible and relatable. Morita's final test came in the form of a screen test with Ralph Macchio, who had already been cast as Daniel LaRusso. The chemistry between the two characters was vital to the film's success, and the studio wanted to ensure that the relationship between Daniel and Miyagi would be convincing on screen. The screen test was a crucial moment. Morita and Macchio were brought together to run through some of the film's key scenes. From the moment they began, it was clear to everyone present that there was an undeniable chemistry between them. Morita's portrayal of Miyagi, combined with Macchio's depiction of Danielle, brought a natural dynamic that perfectly encapsulated the mentor-student relationship at the heart of the film. Their connection was genuine, and the emotional resonance of their scenes together left a lasting impression on everyone watching, transforming the role into an icon. Morita's performance as Mr. Miyagi would go on to become one of the most iconic in cinematic history. He portrayed Miyagi not just as a wise martial arts teacher, but as a man with a past filled with both joy and sorrow, a character whose wisdom was hard-earned through personal experience. Morita brought a depth of emotion to Miyagi that went beyond the typical mentor role. He portrayed a character who was patient, compassionate, and quietly powerful, and who had a story of his own that resonated with audiences. The role earned Morita an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, a testament to the depth and authenticity he brought to the character. This was a significant achievement, not just for Morita but for Asian American representation in Hollywood. His journey from stand-up comedy to a critically acclaimed dramatic role showcased his versatility as an actor and challenged the industry's tendency to box actors into specific roles based on their past work. Pat Morita's determination to break free from comedic typecasting ultimately redefined his career. Mr. Miyagi was more than just a role. It was an opportunity for Morita to show the world what he was truly capable of. It was a chance to transform himself in the eyes of audiences and industry insiders alike, proving that he had the talent to take on challenging, multifaceted roles. The obstacles he faced, from industry skepticism to personal struggles, only made his eventual success that much more impactful. Morita's journey from a bedridden child to a beloved Hollywood actor is nothing short of inspiring. He broke barriers, challenged stereotypes, and became an icon of resilience. The hardships of his life, spinal tuberculosis, internment camps, and industry prejudice shaped who he was both as a person and as an actor. Through roles like Mr. Miyagi, Morita was able to convey not only the wisdom of a mentor, but also the strength of an individual who overcame significant odds. His story is a reminder that true success is not just about talent, but about perseverance and the courage to push through life's challenges. Born into adversity. Pat Morita was born in California in 1932, but his childhood was far from typical. At just 2 years old, Morita was diagnosed with spinal tuberculosis, a condition that left him confined to a hospital bed for much of his early life. The disease kept him in hospitals for lengthy and painful stays, often in full-body casts. He underwent several surgeries, and the isolation he faced while other children his age were playing outside took a profound toll. These experiences instilled in him a resilience that would stay with him throughout his career. Despite the physical pain and loneliness, Morita's early life gave him the strength to persevere against the odds. As Morita began to recover, another wave of hardship struck. During World War II, Morita's family, like many other Japanese-American families, was forcibly relocated to an internment camp. The war brought with it a wave of anti-Japanese sentiment, and the Morita family was caught in the middle of this devastating chapter of American history. Living in the internment camps came with its own set of challenges: crowded conditions, limited freedom, and a constant atmosphere of suspicion and fear. Yet, during this time, Morita developed a resilience and perspective that would later shape his humor and work. Despite being surrounded by injustice, Morita found ways to lift his own spirits and those of others. He used humor to cope, turning grim situations into moments that made people laugh. This coping mechanism laid the foundation for his future career in comedy and entertainment. After World War II ended, Morita's family was finally released from the internment camps, but they were left to rebuild their lives from scratch. They had lost nearly everything, and life after internment was marked by economic struggle and social prejudice. For young Morita, humor became his refuge. He found that making others laugh was not just a way to cope, but also a way to bridge divides and build connections. He began performing at small gatherings, honing his craft and discovering the cathartic power of laughter. Eventually, Morita found his way to local nightclubs in Sacramento, where he began performing stand-up comedy. The nightclubs gave him a platform, and slowly but surely, his unique blend of humor, often infused with insights from his own life and struggles, began to draw attention. He developed a style that was both sharp and poignant, touching on themes that resonated deeply with audiences. For Morita, comedy wasn't just about getting laughs, it was about transforming pain into something meaningful. In the 1960s, Morita began transitioning from the nightclub scene to television. At a time when roles for Asian Americans were often limited to stereotypes, Morita's humor and timing helped him secure small roles on TV shows. He appeared in various popular series, gradually building a resume. While these early roles were usually brief, they showcased his versatility and hinted at the talent he possessed beneath the surface. However, the entertainment industry in the 1960s was not always kind to aspiring actors of color. Morita found himself typecast, often limited to roles that leaned heavily on stereotypes of Asian Americans. Despite these constraints, he persevered, taking whatever opportunities came his way while quietly seeking more meaningful roles. His comedic performances were well received, but Morita knew he was capable of more. He longed to break out of these restrictive, one-dimensional roles and demonstrate the full range of his acting abilities. The desire for more. Morita's journey through Hollywood was driven by an unrelenting desire to expand beyond comedic typecasting. By the late 1970s, he had grown tired of being pigeonholed and began actively seeking roles that could allow him to showcase his depth as an actor. He wanted to explore characters that were complex and human, roles that allowed him to reflect the resilience and humanity he had experienced in his own life. Morita's career began to shift when he landed a recurring role on the popular TV sitcom Happy Days, where he played Arnold, the owner of Arnold's Drive-In. This role gave Morita greater visibility, allowing him to blend his comedic timing with more heartfelt, emotional undertones. It hinted at what he was capable of, but the role that would truly transform his career was still on the horizon. After securing the part of Mr. Miyagi, Pat Morita didn't simply take on a role, he completely embodied it, transforming into a character who would become a defining figure in film history. Morita recognized that portraying Mr. Miyagi meant more than just delivering lines or acting in a movie. This character had deeper implications. It was about accurately representing Japanese culture and conveying universal values through Mr. Miyagi's wisdom. Morita approached the role with such dedication and authenticity that it took many by surprise, including his co-stars and the crew. To prepare for the role, Morita meticulously studied the experiences of Japanese immigrants, striving to understand not just their history, but also their cultural values. He spent hours observing and training with experienced karate masters, not just to perfect the physical movements of karate, but to internalize the underlying philosophy that guided each gesture. This depth of preparation added an authenticity that went far beyond surface-level acting. Morita's dedication ensured that every chop, block, and pensive glance was filled with meaning and sincerity, turning Mr. Miyagi into a character who genuinely felt alive, drawing from personal experience. In crafting Mr. Miyagi, Morita also drew heavily from his own life experiences. He envisioned Miyagi as a man shaped by both personal loss and an unyielding resilience, qualities that Morita understood intimately. By integrating elements of his own story into Miyagi's backstory, Morita created a layered character who was more than just a karate instructor. Miyagi became a surrogate father, a wise mentor, and a source of quiet strength for Daniel LaRusso, as well as a source of inspiration for audiences worldwide. This personal connection to the role added emotional depth that was impossible to miss. Morita infused humor into Miyagi's character as well, balancing seriousness with moments of levity that made him approachable and human. The depth of his portrayal was evident as Miyagi became a complex figure, a person who had endured pain but could still find joy in the little moments of life. It was this nuance that helped transform Mr. Miyagi into a beloved character who has remained culturally significant for generations. One of the most iconic aspects of Mr. Miyagi's character is his unorthodox method of teaching karate, particularly the wax-on, wax-off training technique. This simple but profound method served a dual purpose, teaching Daniel essential karate moves while simultaneously imparting life lessons. What looked like mundane household chores were actually cleverly disguised exercises in patience, discipline, and focus. This teaching style resonated not just with Daniel, but with audiences around the world who could relate to the value of hard work and persistence. The significance of these lessons extended beyond physical training. Mr. Miyagi's approach was rooted in a holistic philosophy of martial arts, one that emphasized mental discipline and personal growth as much as physical prowess. By incorporating this balance into his portrayal, Morita gave audiences more than just an entertaining movie. He offered meaningful lessons on life. Mr. Miyagi's influence through these teachings touched on themes of respect, perseverance, and the importance of mentorship, all of which struck a chord with viewers across different cultures and backgrounds. Pat Morita's portrayal of Mr. Miyagi also served as a cultural bridge, presenting elements of Eastern philosophy in a way that resonated deeply with Western audiences. At a time when Asian culture was often misunderstood or misrepresented in Hollywood, Mr. Miyagi offered an authentic glimpse into a different way of viewing the world. His calm demeanor, respectful attitude, and profound wisdom provided a stark contrast to the loud, action-focused heroes that dominated 1980s cinema. Miyagi's character was not about brute strength or flashy moves. Instead, he embodied the idea of inner strength and the importance of self-control. This perspective was refreshing for many viewers and helped reshape how martial arts and Asian culture were perceived in the West. By presenting a character who was wise, gentle, yet incredibly strong, Morita challenged prevailing stereotypes and broadened the understanding of what a hero could be. Impact beyond the screen. The impact of Mr. Miyagi wasn't limited to the storyline of the Karate Kid. The character became a cultural icon, symbolizing wisdom, patience, and the resilience needed to overcome life's challenges. In America, Mr. Miyagi became more than just a karate teacher. He was a symbol of the integration of Eastern philosophy into a Western-centric narrative, providing a richer, more nuanced perspective on martial arts and life itself. His teachings, often conveyed through memorable quotes, gave audiences a new way to think about conflict, personal growth, and problem-solving. Globally, the influence of Mr. Miyagi was just as profound. For many, this character was their first real exposure to aspects of Japanese culture. And through Miyagi, they came to appreciate values such as respect, humility, and discipline. Mr. Miyagi's respectful, calm approach to life provided a sharp contrast to the typical Hollywood hero, making him not only a unique character, but one that audiences came to deeply respect and admire. Pat Morita's performance also had a significant impact on Hollywood itself. At a time when Asian characters were often relegated to side roles or portrayed in stereotypical ways, Morita's Mr. Miyagi was a central figure with depth, humanity, and a fully developed backstory. This representation began to shift audience expectations, proving that Asian characters could lead with depth and complexity rather than being reduced to caricatures or stereotypes. It opened the door for more substantial roles for Asian actors in mainstream cinema and demonstrated that stories grounded in authentic cultural experiences could resonate with wide audiences. Mr. Miyagi also had a noticeable influence on pop culture and even the practice of martial arts. After the release of The Karate Kid, there was a surge in interest in karate across America, with many schools seeing increased enrollment. Instructors began incorporating Miyagi's philosophies into their teaching, emphasizing not only physical technique, but also the importance of mental discipline, patience, and respect, core values that were integral to Miyagi's approach. This real-world impact was a testament to the power of Morita's portrayal and the depth of the character he created. Pat Morita's dedication to the role of Mr. Miyagi is evident in every scene of The Karate Kid. He didn't just play a mentor, he became one, creating a character that would be remembered for decades to come. His performance turned what could have been a typical mentor trope into something profound, giving audiences a glimpse into the soul of a man who had faced his own hardships but had chosen to rise above them. Morita's Miyagi was not just a teacher. He was a father figure, a friend, and a symbol of quiet strength that resonated with viewers of all ages. The influence of Mr. Miyagi extended far beyond the film's narrative. It left a mark on pop culture, inspired a generation to pursue martial arts, and most importantly, provided a representation of wisdom and grace in the face of adversity. The character transcended the boundaries of cinema, becoming a touchstone for anyone seeking guidance, perseverance, and the courage to overcome life's challenges. The challenges of sudden iconic fame. Behind the serene demeanor of Mr. Miyagi, not everything was as calm as it appeared. The role of Mr. Miyagi brought Pat Morita immense recognition and admiration worldwide, elevating him to an iconic status. But with the fame came a new set of challenges that made life behind the scenes far more complicated. Ironically, the very role that made Morita a household name also created obstacles in his career by restricting the opportunities available to him. Instead of opening diverse doors in Hollywood, Morita found himself dealing with the double-edged sword of typecasting, which repeatedly offered him roles similar to the wise mentor he had already portrayed. Following the success of The Karate Kid, Morita was flooded with offers, but they were almost all variations of the calm and wise figure that Mr. Miyagi had embodied. Though this role was beloved by millions, it also became a prison for Morita, confining him to roles that lacked the complexity he yearned to explore. The depth of his comedic talent, which had initially brought him into the spotlight, was suddenly being overlooked. Casting directors seemed unable to see beyond the soft-spoken, philosophical Mr. Miyagi to the multifaceted performer that Morita truly was. Pat Morita's struggle against typecasting was a reflection of a broader issue faced by many actors who become known for a defining role. However, this was especially poignant in Morita's case, given the already limited opportunities available to Asian actors in Hollywood during the 1980s and 1990s. The scarcity of diverse roles for actors of Asian descent meant that Morita's career options were further narrowed once he became associated with a specific character. He often spoke about this challenge in interviews, voicing his concerns about the industry's lack of diversity and the need for more nuanced roles that would allow actors to break free from stereotypes. Morita believed deeply in the importance of portraying characters with humanity and depth, without being limited by ethnicity or past roles. He advocated for greater representation in Hollywood, urging casting directors and producers to see beyond surface-level traits and recognize the talent and versatility of actors from underrepresented communities. His advocacy highlighted a critical need for the industry to grow and embrace more varied storytelling. Health issues and creative setbacks. This period of Morita's life was marked not only by professional challenges, but also by personal health issues. Having spent years in a sanatorium as a child due to spinal tuberculosis, Morita's health remained fragile throughout his life. Occasionally, these health struggles would flare up, affecting his ability to work consistently. Despite these setbacks, Morita's passion for performing never wavered. When prominent roles that matched his ambitions were not forthcoming, he turned to voice acting in animated films and made numerous guest appearances on television. Though these roles did not carry the same weight or visibility as Mr. Miyagi, they still allowed Morita a degree of creative expression and satisfaction. Even as he faced these obstacles, Morita's dedication to the craft of acting and his commitment to diversifying Hollywood never diminished. He became an advocate for actors' rights, especially those of minority backgrounds, and spent time mentoring young Asian actors who were trying to break into the industry. Morita shared his experiences with them, encouraging them to push for opportunities beyond what the industry typically offered. His quiet but impactful advocacy work came from a sincere desire to create a more inclusive Hollywood, one that was open to telling a broader range of stories reflective of all human experiences. A voice for change. Morita's role as Mr. Miyagi had an undeniable impact on Hollywood, one that extended beyond the entertainment industry and deeply influenced cultural perceptions. Mr. Miyagi was not just a character, he was a powerful representation that challenged long-standing stereotypes about Asian characters in American cinema. Before The Karate Kid, Asian roles were often confined to villains, mysterious figures, or comic relief characters with little to no depth. With Mr. Miyagi, Morita introduced audiences to an Asian character who was wise, strong, and profoundly moral. This portrayal shifted expectations, not just for audiences, but also within the industry itself. Morita's work helped pave the way for more nuanced and layered portrayals of Asian characters, demonstrating that characters of diverse backgrounds could carry major narratives and resonate with audiences. he showed that there was a significant appetite for stories featuring Asian leads, characters who were neither caricatures nor one-dimensional stereotypes, but fully realized individuals with complex inner lives. The influence of Mr. Miyagi went far beyond the confines of Hollywood. Mr. Miyagi became a cultural symbol, someone synonymous with patience, wisdom, and the enduring spirit of overcoming adversity. His portrayal resonated deeply with audiences not only in the United States, but also around the globe. He represented a bridge between Eastern and Western philosophies, offering an alternative perspective that was gentle and wise, in contrast to the more action-driven, brash heroes typical of 1980s Hollywood films. The character's impact extended into pop culture in ways that were both surprising and meaningful. Martial arts dojos across the U.S. experienced an increase in interest and enrollment following the release of The Karate Kid. Many instructors began to incorporate Mr. Miyagi's philosophies into their teaching, emphasizing the importance of patience, discipline, and respect, values that were core to the character's ethos. This cultural shift helped bring martial arts into mainstream Western consciousness, not just as a form of physical training, but as a practice with valuable philosophical teachings applicable to everyday life. Advocacy and mentorship. Beyond the on-screen legacy of Mr. Miyagi, Pat Morita was dedicated to making a real-world impact. He became a role model and mentor for the next generation of actors, particularly those from Asian backgrounds. Actors like Daniel Dae Kim and Ken Watanabe have often cited Morita as an inspiration, speaking about how his role as Mr. Miyagi showed them that it was possible to achieve success in Hollywood without compromising their heritage or identity. Morita's success was a beacon of hope for many young performers, illustrating that it was possible to break through in an industry that was often resistant to change. Morita's influence was felt not only by those who saw him on screen, but also by those who had the privilege of knowing him personally. He was known for his generosity in sharing advice and supporting younger actors. He quietly took on the role of mentor, helping others navigate the challenges of an industry that often boxed actors in based on ethnicity or past roles. This commitment to helping others was one of the most profound aspects of Morita's legacy. Changing the face of Hollywood. The impact of Pat Morita and his portrayal of Mr. Miyagi on Hollywood is both profound and lasting. Before Morita's performance, there were few, if any, positive representations of Asian individuals in major Hollywood films. Asian characters were often portrayed as villains or were otherwise dehumanized, relegated to being mere plot devices. Mr. Miyagi broke that mold. He was kind, wise, deeply moral, and possessed a strength that was far more than physical. He had an emotional strength that captivated audiences. Morita's portrayal made it clear that Asian characters could be central, multifaceted, and deeply human. The success of The Karate Kid not only reshaped Morita's career, but also forced Hollywood to reckon with its portrayal of Asian characters. It showed the industry that there was an audience for stories that featured Asian leads, and that viewers were eager to see characters who defied traditional stereotypes. Morita's role demonstrated that a character could be deeply rooted in a specific cultural experience while still being relatable and universal. This shift in representation encouraged filmmakers to take more risks in their casting choices and storytelling approaches, making Hollywood a slightly more inclusive space. Mr. Miyagi's lasting influence. Mr. Miyagi's influence extended beyond the screen, embedding itself into the hearts and minds of audiences. The character's teachings, from the iconic wax on, wax off, to the deeper lessons about balance, patience, and resilience, were not just lines in a script. They became mantras for viewers around the world, guiding them through their own challenges. Mr. Miyagi's emphasis on finding balance in life, maintaining respect for oneself and others, and approaching obstacles with patience resonated on a universal level. These lessons were simple yet profound, and they continue to inspire individuals across generations. The cultural shift brought about by Morita's portrayal of Mr. Miyagi helped martial arts gain greater respect and recognition in Western society. No longer seen merely as a means of self-defense, martial arts were embraced as disciplines that offered valuable life lessons about humility, perseverance, and self-discovery. This impact was felt not only in pop culture, but also in how people approached their personal development and the way they viewed martial arts. Pat Morita's journey from a struggling stand-up comedian to an actor who brought to life one of Hollywood's most beloved characters is a testament to his resilience, versatility, and unwavering belief in his own abilities. His portrayal of Mr. Miyagi broke barriers, challenged stereotypes, and inspired countless individuals to pursue their dreams while staying true to themselves.